Hello.
Hello.
Maybe you can introduce yourself real quick.
My name is Mayan, and I'm first and foremost a father of 5 kids that are 4, 6, 14, 14, and 16. And that is where the term Sky Daddy comes up, which Khalil made up. And I'm also an entrepreneur, dreaming, thinking about all kinds of things, and I try to make them happen. And that is what Terralux is about. Sky Daddy is part of the Terralux organization.
Amazing. So, why did you create the Sky Daddy?
You know, everything comes from the journey that we each live through, and we each have our superpower and our special mission in life. So I'm always very mission oriented. I believe that we have a purpose, and some people believe that we signed a contract, like what we're supposed to do here. And I didn't plan it that way. It's just life happened. Going through 2 divorces with kids and having to figure out everything about how to survive, how to manage, and at the end of the day, how to be a good dad and how to be really manage this whole thing with the ex-wives and future potential ladies, and just to be a guy and to show up every moment, every day, to do whatever you got to do. So from really dealing with all the battles and all the challenges and being in a very challenging place, which I believe a lot of men go through, I managed to figure things out that at some point I realized I came across this ancient wisdom, this sacred knowledge about what we really are as men, masculinity and leadership, and mainly just to show up as a father. And I realized that if I can share my experience and what I go through every day, it's not that it's done. Just now I was dealing with something with my ex just a few minutes ago, and with the kids, and it's a daily battle. So it's not like I'm done. I'm working through it every day. But I realized, one, there's no support network, there's no brotherhood, and men, every guy, right? You don't even necessarily have to have kids, but if you're a dad with kids, navigating through life and all the challenges of family life and the wife and putting bread, feeding the family, and then if you go through divorce, it's so devastating and it's so tough, and the system is so much against us, and there's almost no support at all, no online content, really nothing. So I realized that it's critical to have this, and I realized that that's my calling and my mission, is to share that knowledge that I came across and to create that brotherhood of men supporting men. It's really critical. And just the stats, right? 50 to 60% divorce rate, but 70 to 80% divorce initiated by women. So something is just not working with the system. And the system overall, family court and overall society, is so against the man, because my quick analysis is men who are dads that are going through divorce, they don't have the time to create that support system. Women do. There are a ton of women support organizations, a ton of organization for everything, but purely support for the regular dad does not exist, because we're just working our ass off to make it work and survive. And it's needed. It's really crucial. And I'm kind of amazed, just doing some research and seeing how little content there is. What happened with me is when life hits you hard and you get left and the wife exits and you find yourself heartbroken and dealing with that, but still having to raise the kids, and because the system is so against you, you still got to provide and put food on the table. You go online, and the only content that there is for men and dating and masculinity and dating coaching, all that, it's all for guys who are in their 20s, maybe 30s, that are single. There's nothing out there for men who are dads. There's just no daddy support system. So that's why I felt that it's really critical to have that support system. And I've been very blessed to have developed something kind of out of the ordinary, where we have all these properties in upstate New York and Dominican Republic that are amazing, magical lands. So we can physically invite people to stay here and host retreats. And of course, as always in the world, this content is going to be available online as well. But we'll create this Brotherhood support system where men come together. That's another thing that I feel is like really critical, because when I was going through it, I was super blessed to have amazing family and friends, amazing support system around me. But very few people that were exactly in my position are going through divorce with kids. So if we can create these groups, and every group of men of, let's say, 5 to 10 men that are going through it will become their own integrated, tight-knit group that are supporting each other, I think that'll be very powerful. As well as the larger ecosystem of Sky Daddies that I believe will expand to hundreds and thousands of men very fast, just because supply and demand, it's so needed. And the moment that we prove that this is good, valuable content, I'm sure we will get a big following very fast. Other thing I want to mention is Sky Daddy is a concept. So of course we cater to the dads with the niche target specialization of dads going through divorce, just because men get broken like that and need so much help. But it's a mindset that anybody should be in. And it's not only for men, women as well. And it's not only for men who are dads. You can be a single guy, you can be a teenager, you can be whatever it is. What it really is it's a mindset of to be in the moment, right? To be and not to be. That's what life is all about. To be present, to be positive, and to think as a Sky Daddy, which means just imagine you're a dad, you have a child, young child, let's say up to 6-7 years old, where every word that he hears, every energetic vibe that comes from you is shaping how they are. So every word that comes out of your mouth, every thought that you have, imagine that there's a child observing you and you're in a leadership moment. So whatever you do, just like I just had a moment with my ex-wife and I just thought about it. I wanted to curse her out, but then I thought, no, Sky Daddy. What would it be like? And it's just me, between me and her in text. Nobody knows, right? I can be really nasty, as you always have a tendency to be in these kind of cases. If I was to share, you would think, oh, you should have been nasty. But just Sky Daddy. Imagine that I have my son there. He's watching it. Be honorable, be respectful. And that's really what Sky Daddy is.
Nice. Very cool. So, what do you think men today are carrying that people don't see?
I think men are carrying everything. And this is, I'm going to go spiritual a little bit here. Because let's assume that there are some forces that have been around for thousands of years that want to control the consciousness of humanity. This is a little hack, it's a little trick, right? Divide and conquer. Because if there was an equilibrium, like a yin yang, the men supporting the women, right? Masculine, feminine, both supportive of each other, and everything is in balance, it'd be great. And it probably was at some time. But if you mess it up and you confuse people through the suppression of masculine energy, and we lose our identity of what men really are and the leadership and the hunters originally and all that, and we lose our way, that messes up everything. It's a little trick that people don't think about, but that's what has been happening to us in the last decades. Because if you go back to the 50s, less than 10% divorce rate, no cell phones, no social media. It was very clear. The husband goes to work, he's not on his phone, he comes back, he's not around, he's not available. And the definition of roles was very clear and it was working. But then the last decades, everything kind of fell apart and it seems like it's just spiraling out of control. But the regular, hardworking, stereotypical, straight father does not have a place in society, right? Because it was about woman empowerment for years and then gay rights and then don't define it, the pronouns, the he, she, like the whole craziness of the last couple decades that just got us messed up. But at the end of the day, the hardworking dad who might be just the blue collar worker, might be the entrepreneur, whatever they are, moving the wheels of society, being productive members of society, but then coming home and doing their best to be a good husband, make the wife happy, take care of the kids. It just became kind of in Western society where the dad is losing his place in the kingdom. And that's what we want to bring back, is masculine leadership.
Nice. So, just to clarify, it sounds like we moved more into a space of competition between the genders instead of collaboration. So you're inviting men back into their power to end the competition.
Exactly. That's part of, that little trick of like get the two sexes to be competing with each other, but it shouldn't be a competition between masculine and feminine. It should be a collaboration, a unity where we're both supporting each other. And that would be the heart of successful relationships, where we're coming together. And just heard a video yesterday where 1 + 1 = 11. It's a luckier number, right? And that's what it should be. It shouldn't be one is competing with one, making it you 0.1. And that's what it's all about, is how do we understand each other. A lot of this content is stuff that I was actually not aware of, and I went deep into the exploration of masculine and feminine, and the realization that we're just talking two completely different languages. And it's the realization that the feminine are very emotional and we men are very logical. So what happens is something that we don't really realize is I'm gonna go a bit spiritual and historic here. So the woman is programmed naturally to find the biggest, baddest, most masculine leader to take care of her and her offspring, right? And she finds the guy. That's all she needs. They're programmed to have one guy who's taking care of business and supporting and protecting her and the kids. And then there's nothing they can do about it. Don't blame me. That's just how it is. They keep on testing just to confirm that the guy is still that masculine. So it comes off as a test. And it could sound like a complaint. It could sound like is raising her voice, whatever it is. And if you realize that that's all it is, it's an emotional thing, it's a test, and your job is just to be your stoic masculine self, the rock. That's what you want. So once you don't react and you just let it go and you stay still, you pass the test, and she loves you again, and she says, okay, all right, I confirmed, you're still my masculine guy and everything is fine. But what happens is we don't know. So we react with our logic, right? Because we're out to hunt and to lead the way and to develop our kingdoms and all that. So we work with our logic because we have to. So she comes with her complaint, which is a test, and we react. Why are you complaining? What is that? Turns into an argument. It escalates. You didn't pass the test. That's emasculation. She loses attraction. It's a whole mess. But this is part of what we want to teach men about, how to be that super stoic masculine rock, not movable in any way.
Without being shut down. You don't have to be shut down to any emotion in order to be that rock. Also.
Right. Because if you realize what it is, and then you see how you pass the test, you're kind of like proud of yourself, like, okay, I'm good.
Yeah, amazing. So let's say, maybe what's the difference between divine masculinity and like mainstream masculinity, or what we've been taught is masculinity?
What happens, part of the programming, is the Hollywood, Disneyland, Prince Charming, and the whole programming of take care of her, carry her, give her everything that she wants, love her to death, the emojis, the good morning text, the good night text. That all is what messed everything up, because what women really want is that strong hunter who's out on the mission and is doing his own thing. And if she texts you good morning and you say, oh, hi, honey, and I love you so much, in her mind, she's thinking, why is he not out on the mission? Why is he not hunting? So it actually emasculates everything. And then why does the bad boy get all the girls, right? Because he's in his masculine indifference. He's like out in the mission, on his mission, and he doesn't really care. So it's not that they really want the bad boy, they want the good guy, but the guy that is in his masculinity, is in his leadership, out on his mission, because that's what they want. Even though they say, no, we want all your attention and all that, but what they really want is a guy that's on the mission. But that's what divine masculinity is all about. You can be the good guy and you can take care of your wife and love her to death and give her the world, but still be in that bad boy mindset without being bad, just being in your own thing and on your mission. That's what divine masculinity is about. Very fine balance, some mastery of how we can be in divine masculinity. I heard one time this girl was sharing with me that her grandpa was a king because the grandma manifested him to be a king. She was treating him like a king. All the other women always are complaining about the husband and this and that, but she said, no, my husband is the king. And we went into a discussion of this is what we really need nowadays, because men, they grow, they become knights and then princes and then kings and then emperors. And I was asking the girls in that discussion, do you think there are emperors in the world? And they said, well, emperors, we'd be happy just to have some kings around. So we need those kings. And that's what divine masculinity is about, to create those kings.
Nice. So you're saying there's a role for the way that women treat men in supporting this divine masculinity.
100%, you know,
cool.
It could only work if you have a partner that understands all that stuff and she's manifesting her king. She treats you like a king and she creates her king.
Nice. So, let's see. Okay, so good question, but we'll go into this in the program so you can decide how deep you want to open it now. How does a man stay present when he's under stress or overwhelmed or triggered?
It's like everything, it's just practice, right? If you're going to train for a marathon, you got to run every day. So the more stress you endure and the more you're practicing, really just training your mind. That's what spirituality is about. That's what life is all about, is going back to be present in the moment. Breathe. Remember that no matter what's happening, if you look at the big picture, macro level, it's probably not anything that should throw you off. And you go back to what's important. Sky Daddy. I'm a dad. My most important job is take care of the kids. And somehow, don't even ask me how, but miraculously, even though I wasn't there before and I was going through my depression, my hardship and my challenges, and you know, I was staying up at night just from stress and hardship and heartbreak, and I was praying to God and to the universe, give me the power and the energy to show up to the kids in the morning and be happy and not let my misery affect them. And somehow I managed to get myself to the point where I know whatever you do, you have that child and you're present in the moment, just be there in happiness and play with them, because that's all that matters.
Very nice. So if you could boil Sky Daddy down into one sentence, what would it be?
Be there in the moment, be a dad, and what I just said, just play with the kids. Everything else doesn't matter.
Nice. You want to keep going?
No, I think this was a good intro, right?
Yeah, it was very good. You're natural.
Thank you.
Natural with the camera.